Mia is a wonderful organizer in Florida who was arrested for an act of civil disobedience.
I'm down in Florida, in Tampa, Florida. I was never an activist before 9/11. 9/11 hit me just about 2 years ago. I realized by Googling about 9/11, and it hit me like a bolt of lightning. And it totally shattered me for the longest time. And then I decided, well, I'm going to do something about it. So I want you to know that everything I've done has been like conscious, because I was not an activist, not politically oriented or anything like that. So I took a lot of steps that were very conscious, like I started to prepare myself doing exactly what Gabriel said. I mean, I sat down and I thought, well, if I'm going to talk to other people about this, I better learn it myself. So I sat down and I did my little flashcards where I put, which flight hit which tower in 8:46 and 10:03 and what happened, and then the Pentagon and Flight 93, and then I started to like expand my circle. And at the same time, I also did things to help me stay centered. I started taking Tai Chi classes. I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to train myself, because I'm going to put myself in situations that I'm not used to being in, and I'm going to be perhaps in situations that are confrontational, in situations that are uncomfortable. So I better get myself a little bit more centered, and so I've tried to do that, and actually it's been wonderful. I've lost 35 pounds, I feel great, and I got a whole bunch of new friends. All right, so the way I approach this is like, I think it's marketing, and when Les was showing up there on the board about 10 reach 10 reach 10, that's a network marketing concept, and whether it's marketing of a product or network marketing, I think that's a great idea, because I think we ought to treat 9/11 Truth like a product. And then I think we should like measure and say, for example, they've heard me say this before, but say, for example, you're a leader of a group, and maybe you're trying to organize something with World Can't Wait or another group that is going to have an event, because when you first get started, maybe you don't want to have your own event. You sort of just want to tag along, so you get to know those people. And then things like, how many activists can I get there? How many leaflets can we get out? Can I get some people to table? How many signs can I get up? So I kind of like approach it more like, this is my product, I want to sell it. Speaking of which, I also think, sometimes you have a meeting and somebody comes and he starts to talk about the fact that, oh, they're going to kill us all, and the phones are tapped, and all of this stuff. It's true, people have taser guns out there that they could use against you. But if you have a product to sell, you don't talk about what's wrong with the product. You talk about what's right about the product. And what's right about this product, I'm going to read this fast, but the benefits of 9/11 Truth, first of all, people with better information make better choices. They demand better government. We could dismantle the war machine. We would have less money dedicated to war, so we have more money for social programs and education, revised national priorities, more attention to environmental concerns. We want to stop the New World Order. Step one is we have to make people aware that it actually exists. Concentrate on what you want and not what you don't want. Don't talk about the fearful stuff. Talk about where we could go with this and what that's going to bring to us all. Okay, so provide information in a non-confrontational manner, and be patient and kind, because some people, well, Gabriel just said it, it took him 2 years to come on to 9/11 Truth. Didn't you say that? No? But he said that there were people talking to him and talking to him and talking to him. There's people it takes forever. I just had a meeting the other day in Tampa. It was a meeting of 20 people, and one of the people that came was an activist that I had met up at the Boston Tea Party in Boston, and she brought her mom. Well, this activist is so on top of things that on September 12th, 2001, she went out in Harvard Yard and she leafleted that it was the government that it was behind it. So for all of these years, she's known it. Her mom has been denying it and against her ever since. Right there in that meeting of ours, where the mother was there, she saw that I have adult people, I have kids, I've got a mixture of people. It was a very safe, comfortable environment. It hit her right then and there. So, you never know. That woman for at least 5 years has been listening to her daughter. Now, if her daughter had caused a confrontational sort of an environment in the family because of that, information, she might never have put herself in the position. So that's one thing I want to tell you is, leave it, when you talk to somebody, even if they don't agree with you, leave the door open so that they are open to new information and so that the next activist that might have a word with them has a chance of moving that forward. There's a theory I subscribe to. I call it the nudge theory. And the nudge theory is, in sales, I read that, that when a person sells something, oftentimes it's like the second to the 8th contact before the sale is made. So just keep that as a reference for what's happening in 9/11. You didn't do the trick, but the next person or the next person or the next person might. So always be leaving the door open so that don't humiliate people or make them feel stupid or smaller than you. Remember, there was a time when you didn't know this information also. Okay, now, rudeness, name-calling, accusations, humiliation. I call these mind control tactics, and they're being used against us all the time. That's why so many people pick them up and use them, because they've been used against us. We all know Bill O'Reilly. But this is not how we want to be. You know, I say use your cerebral cortex. I have this theory, and I think scientifically I'm right. Your brain is overlaid. I mean, if you believe in evolution. You are descended from reptilian past ancestors. So in a pinch, when you're threatened, your emotional part comes forward and your thinking part recedes, okay? And that is why they use these tactics against us. You know, when somebody like Kevin Barrett is on Bill O'Reilly's show or something like that, Bill O'Reilly does not want Kevin Barrett to be comfortable and eloquent. He wants to get him on the defensive right away, and he wants to get him upset, because anybody who's upset or afraid or humiliated is not going to be able to think clearly and make his points. So remember, they don't want you to think clearly. They don't want you to be a master of critical thinking. You know, they're not looking for philosophers here in America. They're looking for worker bees. Educate yourself about mass media control, and you know, Bernays has already come up in this conference, and how, you know, basically every message you see is a marketing message in one way or another. One person wants to sell you a certain soap product, but of course the news wants to sell you a certain philosophy and a certain way of thinking that, you know, you can just fall into unless you are more critical about it. I have started a newsletter called the White Rose Newsletter. I think we need a national newsletter, and not just for news events, because I don't think at this point 9/11 is about news. I think 9/11 right now is about activism. So I think we need to have calendars of events and like feature what they're doing up in Boston, what are they doing in New York, just so other people know what everybody is doing, and so that they feel like they're part of a supportive, growing, active organization. People know me for the civil disobedience action that I did in Tampa. That was also, it was a national thing. It happened in California, in Florida, and in the Washington area all at the same time. I happened to be the only one that got arrested, and it turned into a very, very successful experience, because I made the lead story on Fox News with a very favorable presentation where they showed Building 7 coming down twice. They talked about Muhammad Atta's habits of, you know, cocaine use and drinking and so on and so forth. I was very, very surprised afterwards that I took some attacks from people in the 9/11 movement. That floored me. I'm like, how could anybody turn against me when not only did I take on the action, but it was unbelievably successful. So I think we have to not only, you know, we're requesting tolerance and freedom of speech from the bigger, you know, rulers, but what about amongst ourselves? What about realizing that every person has a little something to offer, and it's not all going to be the same thing. One person's theatrical, another person's a writer, another person's a this, another person's a that. So unless it's dangerous or illegal or violent, because obviously if somebody's encouraging you to do something violent, they're not working on behalf of the movement, they're working for another master. But unless it's something dangerous or violent, encourage them. I mean, it takes a lot of gumption to put yourself in an oppositional position with this government. So if somebody's willing to do that, they deserve your respect. Now, the White Rose was a resistance group in Germany, and the tactic that they used was leafleting. They did a series of leaflets. I think it was about a half a dozen. They did it secretly. They couldn't leaflet openly in the streets like we do.